Who wants to see a 60? Is it you guys? Do you guys want to see a 60? Well, I got one for you. It's a collectively mighty 60. We got a lot of people in this deck, and individually they're weak, but together they are strong. Let's talk about the lands. First of all, I got 4 of these things because this deck is the worst. The worst about lands. Like, it will not give you lands no matter what you do. So I hate to run 4 of them, but I do run 4 of them, regrettably. We got Swords to Plowshares because it is the greatest removal ever in, like, pretty much ever in this game, definitely. We got this because it's going to tutor up a dude. I mean, this is tutor for this deck because we don't really have a lot of sorceries or instants or anything like that. So this is basically just a tutor for our deck. It's instant speed, which is fantastic. We got Fist of Ironwood, which is pretty good, just because of the interactions that it has with other cards in the deck. I mean, basically it's a pump spell, which is why I keep it in here. Basically, my through line for this deck is if it just makes tokens, you take it out. It's a lot like when you take out the mechanic that the decks are built around or were released for, they become way better, generally. So Fist of Ironwood is in there. It does make 2 dudes, which is good. I mean, even if it just made 2 dudes, it'd be tempting, but it also gives a creature trample, which is great. So those are in there times 2. This guy is amazing. This guy is a home run hitter. Turn 2, dropping this guy, especially with other stuff, you slap this on him. I mean, you can already see the interactions that start happening when you're building this deck. This guy having trample with those dudes just sitting back chilling is amazing, so I run both of them. This guy's my artifact or enchantment removal, not to mention the fact he's got Exalted for absolutely no freaking reason, so he's in there as well. This guy drives the deck. A lot of these creatures get +1/+1 for each creature that you have on the battlefield, so you can do his first ability, his top ability. You'll get a 1/1 dude and pump, so you really get a 2-for-1. He's just a fantastic guy. I love having him out there, so we run 3 of them. Sigil Blessing is your win condition. Like, it is instant speed, but like basically think of it as like instant speed overrun for 2 mana. Like the loss of strength from overrun to make this thing a 2 mana cost is insane. Like, this thing is your win con. It is sickening. Behemoth Sledge, also really good. It's a 6-drop in my book because I love to equip it onto somebody the second it hits the table. So I do wait. Generally, I wait almost the entire game to drop Sledge down and have it go to work. It's pretty good. Civic Wayfinder is also fantastic. It doesn't put the land into play, which is regrettable, but it is going to allow you to grip up. And like I said, this is the absolute worst deck when it comes to land. I will say that time and time again. I know that I bitched about Rakdos, but Rakdos actually turned out pretty good. But this thing is still really sketchy when it comes to land. So we got 2 of them in there. Dauntless Escort is amazing. It's not gonna, it gives your creatures indestructible when you sack him, but it's not going to stop things like Infest. It's not going to stop things, anything, obviously, Mutilate in black, pretty much, which is going to give your creatures the neg1 counters. I don't think there's really anything else. I mean, Incremental Blight, if you have that for some reason. Dauntless Escort's not going to be able to save them from that, obviously, but he's still a really good card. He's going to give your creatures indestructible for the turn. Midnight Honey makes tokens, I know, but it's instant speed and they are flying. That slows down the flyers because I don't have any flying removal in the deck, basically. Like, I have Swords to Plowshares, but I don't really have anything else. So I know I said I took out all this. It's also a 3-drop, and like I said, the mana is very wonky on here, so that's why we try and keep our curve looking just about like that. So do run both of those. This guy's not fantastic by any means, but he does get buffed from various things every once in a while, which could make him a little bit better. The First Strike Vigilance is relevant in the format. There's a lot of things that this guy just shuts down, Goblins being one of them. And the fact that he's just kind of tricky, that you can buff him with some of the other cards. You can buff him with Sigil, obviously, and he just gets in there and does work. He's actually okay in this deck. Not fantastic outside of it, though, obviously. Sign of the Wild, this is one of the cards that I was talking about, where a lot of the other things that we have are going to make this card better. It's going to instant speed buff him. He's pretty good. I run all 3 of them. I like to see him. It is hard to get the double green. Obviously, we only have 8 forests and 12 plains in the deck. So it is awfully hard to get the double green on turn 3, but you will get it turn 4 or 5, which is probably when you'll be dropping this guy anyway. I mean, against the mono red and stuff like that, you're going to want him to be out of burn range, sitting about 5 in the ass. So you're going to want about 5 total creatures out on the field, 4 other creatures. So that's going to be around turn 4 or 5 to begin with. So I don't really worry too much about the land. I just expect this guy to be a little bit of a later drop, which does mess up our curve a little bit. You just have to be mindful of that. Hero Bladeholt's one of the best cards in this game. This guy is insane. It kind of makes me believe that that's why the mana is so wonky in this one. They were trying to balance it, but balancing it by making the mana base unstable is probably the worst thing that I see in this game. And I hope that's not what they do, but that is kind of what I believe that happens. Obviously, it puts 2 dudes on the field that are going to be 2/1s while they're swinging in. They're swinging in. I mean, it's fantastic. Geist of St. Traft is obviously pretty good too because it's got hexproof. But the thing with this card is they give you 2 of them. Like, that's the thing that is amazing about Hero Bladehold, makes this deck a contender, is the 2 Hero Bladeholds, definitely. Loxodon is pretty good. He's going to gain you 4 life, which means that you can take those early hits. Even if you have a rocky mana base, you're going to be able to slap this card on the table, you're going to gain some more life, and he can also sack out to regen the rest of your side. He's an all-around good card. I actually wouldn't hate this if it was an enchantment that just hit the table, gave you 4 life, and then you sacked it out, you know, but it's also a 4-body dude who can pump. He can be beggar. I mean, he could be a 6/6 if you have the club hammer thing on him. He can also be a 6/6 if you have the pump McDude out because he is green and white. So he's a pretty stable guy. I like to run all 3 of them. Marshal's Anthem is fantastic. I've talked about this card time and time again. It is no exception in this deck. Getting a dude out of your yard and straight onto the table is an amazing effect by itself. This also pumps my side +1/+1, so I love that. Hey, here's Pump McDudes, who I couldn't remember earlier. Liege, his secondary ability is not fantastic. There's not a whole lot I mean, obviously there's a couple of decks. Rakdos is going to be one of them. Mono Black a little bit, that's going to make you discard cards, but it's not really a main focus in any of the decks. Dimir, honestly, I haven't played this really, and no one plays Dimir. But Dimir, obviously, this would be pretty nice against, which is just awesome because they spend 3 mana to make you, you know, get rid of a card or something, and you're like, oh, hey, thanks for casting this for me. 3 mana, Wiltleaf Leech. Thanks a lot, bud. So it's not entirely relevant, but the +1/+1 to all your dudes is always relevant, so that's great to have in the pile. Finally, we have Silklash Spider. This is absolutely my only flying removal. Depending on the matchup that I'm in, this guy will actually be what I tutor up a lot of times. He is also only a 5-drop, and he's a 7 in the ass, which makes him a formidable opponent just on the field in general. So if they have a couple of flyers, if you're facing blue, the other thing that's really nice is that I don't really have any flyers. I just have a couple of cards. I have 4 flyers in the entire deck based off 2 cards. So I don't really care that it is going to kill my own flying dudes. But it's just a strong guy. He's a strong guy. I like him in there. A good 5-drop, 7 in the ass is very, very formidable. He's going to be able to block, and then on the swing back, if they don't kill you, you can probably pump. Because remember, you know, I mean, I don't even know. This guy is just, there's so much good pump here. Like, these are 5 excellent pump spells, because this does give +1/+1 with its second ability, which is still valuable, obviously. Up here, this guy's terrible. 5, I have to sack a dude. No, I don't have extra dudes in my build, so I don't have room for Sky Sweeper here. It's cool art. I love the art. Mark Tidden getting in there. Sprout just makes 1/1 dude. Don't care about that. It's a 1/1 dude that's not even a dude. Like, it's just so susceptible to removal and stuff. I don't really have a lot of tokens, so I mean, obviously a lot of these cards are going to be token-centric. That's why they're not in here. Jade Mage is another one, token-centric. This is token-centric. Don't want it in there. Just making the tokens make this deck weak to a lot of things that it shouldn't be weak to. Like, this current build is strong against a lot of things. This card was only good when damage stacked, by the way. This, I just don't have an overabundance of dudes, plus I've already won by the time this goes off. Like, because if I'm swinging in, how many times do I, whenever creature blah blah blah, 7 or more, that means I've attacked 7 times. Why aren't they dead yet? What the hell? They should be so dead by then. Trophy Hunter, this guy gets rid of flying guys, but he does it 1 damage at a time. He gets bigger a little bit sometimes. He's just so slow. I don't want to lay him turn 3. I mean, oh god, I mean, look at my current turn 3 though. Is this guy. So you could probably swap this guy out, but you're not going to find a lot of use for him. I'm going to be blatantly honest with you. He's not going to kill a lot of flyers for you. The 2/2s in blue for 4 mana to kill 1 2/2. Oh. I don't know. That's, I mean, in step, that's kind of good. Plus, he becomes a 3/4. I don't know. That's a rough one. That is up for debate, though. I will say that that would be the one change that I would consider making, even though I really think that this on the ground with the first strike is a little bit better. We're going to Armor Guard. I don't really care about this momentary buff. He doesn't have Flash. I don't give a shit about this guy. Parallel Lives, obviously token-centric. Don't care about that. Token-centric, lots of people love Ant Queen and everything. They're just like, Ant Queen, oh, ants forever. I love ants. I don't care. They're 1/1s. I don't give a shit about that. Juniper Order Ranger is amazing. I really want this guy in the deck, but I never get to 5 mana in a way that allows him to be good, so he's out. Overrun actually startlingly out. I know it's because I have instant speed overrun, like I said. I have instant speed overrun. I don't need to telegraph my punches because I can kill them just as effectively in a much quicker way with a 2-drop. I know that's really controversial. Overrun out of this deck is probably going to make a lot of people's panties bean a bunch, but I don't have all those 1/1 tokens that you can have in this deck, so Overrun not really that great. Both of them are up there. This guy I freaking love versus Mono Red. He's just a freaking tank of gasoline. The only thing is that I have him out and I have, well, we'll just go over here, Silk Lash in, because that was really the open spot, was the 5-drop, obviously, and, I mean, this is good versus Mono Red. I mean, it's kind of like this deck's version of Phyrexian Obliterator. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, damage doesn't do shit to this guy, get ready for things to pop off. But a lot of decks just won't damage him, they'll let him get him for 1. He is an impenetrable wall, though. Like, nothing will ever get past this guy. I mean, Trample. Trample obviously makes you really sad when you have this guy out, but like I was saying, these are 2 conditional cards. This is only good against flyers, really, even though he has a 7 in the ass. And this is really only good against direct damage decks. So I went with the flyer one. That's my bigger weakness. I should be able to kill something before this guy really starts popping off, to be honest with you. I should have my opponent dead on turn 6, on turn 7, and by that time this guy could be huge, but he might not be huge, so he's just not really worth the investment there. A lot of these are just too big now. This is token-centric as well, and it's a 5-drop. This is just cycling, really, 4-5. I don't care about that. Like, why would I have a 6-drop that's essentially worse than my 5-drop here for taking care of flyers? This is token-centric. I don't care about anything that's token-centric. This is awesome. I tried running this in the deck because then you have 3 cards that give +1/+1 to your green and white creatures, and you get like a 4/4 dude named Vashashojo or something, Vagina or something like that. I don't even know. But it just doesn't fit. It's too much mana. It's a 6-drop. Did I say it was a 5-drop earlier? I can't math very well. That's not a good sign for tonight. 6-drop things happen, stuff, not great. 6-drop again, token-centric, don't care. This thing's just, oh man. This is your mass removal. I mean, this is your mass removal, but it has to sit around for a while. You have to be polite about it. You have to be like, hey, I plan on wiping the board. Are you okay with that? And they have to be like, oh, very good, sir. That sounds tot-tot-terio. And, you know, you got to be all like, oh, okay, sweet. I'm going to wipe the board now. They know about it. They're going to grip up dudes in response. They're not going to overplay their hand. It's just not as good as it could be. Plus, it costs more mana than you will ever see in this deck, probably, unless you're really sad. Biorhythm I already hate. We talked about that in my mono green one. I mean, it's just, I don't have a ton of dudes. It is sweet that he's got like a freaking box and a cougar, bear, tiger, lion, and his eyeballs, but whatever. Living Hive gives you a bunch of shit. I don't care about that either. So there you go, you guys. It costs too much mana. There you go, you guys. That is the 60 for Collective Might. It's exciting. I like this deck. We're going to see what it does. This is a little bit new build. I do tweak the builds a little bit. But yeah, that's basically what we have running. We'll have to see how it works in actual practice. The playtesting went pretty well, but we'll have to see what happens. Anyway, thanks a lot, you guys. I really appreciate you stopping by, checking out the video. I hope you enjoyed this week, and I will see you tomorrow with the first Collective Might gameplay.